going to allow me to put in my string. So I'm going to go parallel to the pitch line as best as you can again, please. Okay, so your drawing continues on there. So now we need to show where the string actually goes into the newel post as well. Right, so we need to show that detail. That's why I extended this line down. Alright, so it will have to be shown. Alright, and you could be asked to show it in your question as well. Alright, so something similar to what happened up here at the top at the handrail. Don't get overly bogged down on the size of this. Alright, this is inside of the newel post. Alright, so it actually won't be seen, but you could be asked to actually sketch it out, or you could be asked to highlight how you joined basically the string, how you joined the string into the newel post. Alright, so that's just something to be considered also. I see you'd have a tenon, something like that cut out. A little bit peculiar in fashion. Alright, but it would be slotted into that 100 by 100 piece. Again, like your handrail, a dowel went through there. Here you're going to have two dowels. Right, so you'd have one dowel positioned there at that section of your tenon, and then another one down here. Alright, so that fixes that in position. Okay, so that's a fairly important detail as well. Alright, knowing how they're slotted into position. The next part then, I suppose, three other things to do. We have to do the wedges for our risers and goings, and then we have to put in our balusters going up here, and then the drawing is complete once you'd label it. Okay, so just look at our wedges. Our wedges is something that you shouldn't get too bogged down on, again, size wise. So I'm just extending on that line, and I'm extending on this line for now. I'm going to do that on all of them, alright, and that'll make a little bit more sense in a second. Alright, so the wedges have to go in. Okay, so the first one that we should draw in is going to be the one supporting the going. Alright, so the one supporting the main part of the step where you put your foot. Alright, so don't worry about the size of it, just try and keep them similar. So there's one wedge coming out here. Alright, it's not going to come all the way out, it's going to be flat to there. Alright, so that's the wedge. Same up here, the next going. And then the same up here. Alright, so there's 1, 2, 3 wedges there, and then we want to put in our wedges then for the risers. Okay, so the wedges for the risers would usually be put in first. Alright, and then this wedge is put in underneath to stop that one from sinking down, if you understand what I'm saying there. Alright, so there'll be another one coming along here as well. Alright, or there should be. So that would be your wedges put in. Again, there's no real fixed size on the likes of those. You have your glue blocks then should be 50 by 50, alright? It's not going to be a square, it's just going to be basically a 50 by 50 block and cut in half, alright? So your glue block could we just put in something simple as that. So from the corner, I'm going to measure out 5. Put in all the glue blocks in one go, alright? Then you can put on a bit of grain pattern to show that. Okay, so that's your glue blocks, excuse me, and wedges put in. Alright, so now everything is supported. Then we need to look at putting in our balusters, alright? So it's going to be a little bit hard to show them here, just with the way things are, alright? So remember, yesterday we talked about putting, we talked about the minimum depth, so the minimum depth, or the minimum width, sorry, should be 100 mil. We're going to keep it at 90, alright? So that's what we're going to do even for the top of the stairs as well, so the next detail. So that's what we're going to look at. So we're going to keep it at 90, so 90 divided by 5 gives you 18, alright? Your baluster should be 40 by 40, right? So divide that by 8, divide that by 5 becomes 8 by 8. So I'm going to measure from the newel post, I'm going to measure 18 millimeters, so I'm going to measure 18 to here. Then I'm going to measure for my 40 by 40 becomes 8 by 8, so I'm going to measure 8. Try and keep it parallel to your newel post then as best you can, obviously. So there's one put in, and we'll just put in 2 or 3 more, and then we'll leave the drawing at that. So 18 and 8. And we'll do 2 more. 18 is there, and 8. Okay, so there's your balusters put in. If you wanted to highlight to the examiner, just say you wanted to highlight about the 100 millimeter sphere there. So if you were to draw, so 100 is your diameter, so 20. Now, if this will work. So I have my compass set at radius 10. No, the lead isn't deep enough in it. Alright, so if I was to draw in a circle there, radius 10, so diameter 20, it should be fitting outside of those lines. Alright, so it shouldn't actually allow to fit in between the gap here and here and here, for example. Alright, so you could highlight that on your drawing as well. Alright, so just in relation to the drawing then, just a couple of points. So you need to show this detail here, right? So the joint for the handrail and for the string going into the newel post. Remember where I started. So I started with my riser, then I went with my going, riser, going, riser, going, riser, going. Right, that's what I started with first. Okay, then I put my newel post on and I tried to position the newel post centered on the first step, we'll call it. Alright, then what you could do, what did I do after that? I put on the pitch line, then I put on my handrail and I went on from there. Alright, if you wanted to keep your drawing a little bit tidier, it just looks a little bit messy here, you could put on the glue block first and then put on the wedge that comes up to meet it. Alright, so that's what you could do differently. The angle of that one is 42 degrees, but remember your optimum one is 35. Alright, so that's just the way that one occurred there. And then the measurements are divided by 5. Alright, so scale 1 is to 5. That could be just left flat if you wanted to. The only other thing then that you might change might be, say, the front of the step. So if you wanted to make it round in fashion, if you wanted to do that, give it that appearance that it was bull nose, so like the nosing as it's called in your notes, that would be perfectly fine as well. Alright, so it just gives that rounded over fashion. Alright, so that's the bottom of the stairs then drawn.